My name is Jessica Miller. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 5 years, my entire life has been defined by a single Excel spreadsheet on my laptop. While my coworkers went out for $15 salad bowls at lunch, I sat at my desk eating cold turkey sandwiches from home. While my friends booked weekend getaways to Cabo, or bought fresh clothes for every season, I wore the same 3 thrifted coats and mended my own shoes. I worked 40 hours a week as an entry-level logistics clerk, took on late-night freelance data entry shifts, and accounted for every single penny that went in and out of my pocket. I wasn't cheap. I was focused. My husband, Liam, and I lived in a cramped, drafty one-bedroom basement apartment in the suburbs of Chicago. The radiator clanked all night. The bathroom ceiling had a leak the landlord refused to fix, and the neighbors upstairs sounded like they were running a bowling alley. But every time I felt tired or discouraged, I opened my laptop and stared at the green line on my spreadsheet. $50,000. That was our dream. A down payment on a modest 3-bedroom starter home with a small backyard, a real kitchen, and enough room to eventually raise a child. The money was kept in a high-yield savings account at a regional credit union. I had opened that account under my maiden name years before I met Liam, and over 5 years of marriage, I deposited every spare dollar I earned into it. Liam worked at an auto parts desk, but most of his paycheck went toward his car loan and his own personal spending. He always promised he'd contribute more next month, but next month never came. "Don't worry, babe, we're a team," Liam used to say, kissing my cheek whenever I worked a midnight shift. "You handle the house fund. I handle the day-to-day." I believed him. Because when you love someone, you want to believe you're building a future together. I didn't realize I was the only one building. Liam was just waiting to demolish it. The crack in our life opened up on a cold Thursday evening in October. I came home from an 11-hour shift, my feet aching, carrying a bag of groceries I'd bought with coupons. When I walked through the door, the living room was packed. Sitting on our sagging sofa were Liam, his mother, Brenda, and his younger brother, Ryan. Brenda was a loud, domineering woman who treated her sons like royalty and treated me like a glorified intruder. She had never forgiven me for not coming from a wealthy family, constantly making passive-aggressive comments about my clothes, my cooking, and my lack of class. Ryan, 23, was her undisputed favorite, a lazy, entitled brat who had dropped out of community college twice and hadn't held a steady job for more than 3 months in his life. "Look who finally decided to join us," Brenda sneered, barely glancing up as I set the groceries on the counter. "Ryan has some huge news, Jessica. Not that you seem interested." I swallowed my fatigue and forced a polite smile. "Oh? What's going on?" Ryan puffed out his chest, leaning back on the couch. "I proposed to Chloe last night. We're getting married in June, and her dad is a huge property developer in Naples, so we need a proper wedding. We're talking a country club venue, open bar, the whole package." "Congratulations," I said honestly. "That's big news." "Yeah. Well, it comes with a price," Brenda chimed in, her sharp eyes narrowing as she looked at me. "The venue deposit is due this Friday, and Ryan needs a respectable car, so Chloe's family doesn't think he's some broke nobody. We found a used BMW at the dealership downtown. $5,000 cash for the venue down payment, and $25,000 for the car." I nodded slowly, putting the milk away in the fridge. "That's a lot of money. How is Ryan planning to finance that?" Brenda let out a harsh, disbelieving laugh, looking at Liam. "How is he planning to finance it?" "Jessica, he's your brother-in-law. Family supports family." Liam already agreed that we're taking the money out of the house savings. The glass jar of pasta sauce in my hand almost slipped onto the floorboards. I froze, turning around slowly to look at my husband. "What did you just say?" Liam shifted uncomfortably on the couch, avoiding my eyes. He rubbed the back of his neck, refusing to meet my gaze. "Jess, come on. It's just a loan. Ryan really needs this right now. Chloe's family is very traditional, and if Ryan shows up driving his beat-up sedan, they'll look down on our whole family." "A loan?" I whispered, my voice trembling with a mix of shock and rising horror. "Liam, that is $50,000. That's 5 years of my life. That's our home deposit. We're putting an offer on a house next month. You don't need a house right now." Brenda snapped, standing up and towering over me with her arms crossed. You two are young, Dad. You can keep renting this apartment for another couple of years. Why are you being so selfish? My son needs a future right now, and you're sitting on a pile of cash like a dragon. It isn't a pile of cash, I shouted, Dad, the tears finally burning at the corners of my eyes. It's my blood, sweat, and tears. I worked 80 hours a week for that money while Ryan played video games in your basement. Watch your mouth, Jessica, Liam barked, Dad, stepping between me and his mother, his face flushed with sudden anger. Don't you talk to my mother like that? We are a married couple. What's yours is mine, and I decided we are helping my brother. I looked at Liam. Dad really looked at him and felt a cold, terrifying shiver run down my spine. The account is in my maiden name, Liam, I said, my voice dropping to a low, lethal whisper. You don't have access to it, and I am not giving you a single dime. Brenda smiled, a slow, ugly, triumphant smile that made my stomach turn. Is that so? Brenda sneered, Dad, reaching into her purse and pulling out a blue carbon copy receipt from Oakhaven Credit Union. Check your online portal, girl. My hands shook so violently I could barely unlock my phone. Dad. The screen blurred as I tapped the credit union app, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I logged in, high-yield savings account. I-2. Current balance. 0. I stared at the screen. The number didn't change. $. 5 years of skipped meals, 60-hour work weeks, secondhand clothes, and cold basement nights. Erased. Just gone. How? I choked out, the air completely leaving my lungs. How did you? I never gave you my password, Dad. You left your old laptop logged in on the kitchen counter 3 days ago, Jessica, Liam said, stepping forward. He didn't sound guilty. He sounded defensive, like a man convincing himself he had done nothing wrong. Dad, I saw the portal was open. I'm your husband. Legally, we're a team. I just transferred the funds to our joint checking account, and Mom and I went to the branch yesterday to cashiers check the money over to Ryan. Dad, you stole from me, I whispered, the room spinning around me. That money was in my name before we even got married. Half of that was from my grandmother's small inheritance. Oh, cry me a river. Brenda spat, Dad, stepping up right beside her son. You've been hoarding that money like a greedy little rat while my family struggled. You think you're better than us because you keep a little spreadsheet? You owe this family, Dad. We took you in when you had nothing. I paid 60% of the rent for 5 years, I screamed, tears streaming down my face. I paid for his car insurance. I paid for your Thanksgiving dinners. You leech off me, all of you, Dad. Slap. The sharp crack echoed off the thin basement walls. My head snapped to the side, my cheek burning with white-hot pain. Brenda stood there, her hands still raised, her eyes bulging with hatred. Dad, you don't talk to us like that in this house, Brenda snarled. I looked at Liam, my hand trembling as I cupped my burning cheek. Liam, she just hit me. Tell me you saw that. Say something. Liam looked at his mother, Dad, then looked back at me. He didn't apologize. He didn't defend me. He crossed his arms and looked down his nose at me with total indifference. You deserved it, Jess, Liam said coldly. You called my family leeches. Dad, you've been holding this house money over my head for years, making me feel like a loser in my own home. If you can't respect my mother and help my brother, then you don't belong here. Ryan smirked from the couch, jingling a fresh set of BMW keys in his hand. Yeah, thanks for the ride, sister-in-law. Pack your bags, Brenda commanded, pointing a fat finger toward our small bedroom. You're getting out tonight. Liam is filing for divorce, Dad. And since that money went into a joint account before we pulled it, good luck proving a damn thing in court. You're leaving with nothing. I stood in the center of that dingy living room, my cheek throbbing, my life savings stolen. Dad. Looking at 3 monsters who thought they had completely broken me. They thought I was going to collapse on the floor and beg for forgiveness. They thought a quiet, frugal girl who spent 5 years keeping spreadsheets would just pack her bags, cry into a pillow, and disappear into the night. They forgot one very important detail. I kept spreadsheets. I kept records. I kept receipts. And I knew the law better than any of them. 10 minutes, I said quietly, wiping the tears from my face with the back of my hand, my voice turning as cold as ice. I'll be out in 10 minutes. I walked into the bedroom. pulled my canvas duffel bag from under the bed, and packed my clothes. But before I zipped it shut, I reached into the back of my closet, pulled out a locked metal accordion file, and slipped it into my coat pocket. Inside that file was 5 years of bank statements, proving every single deposit into that savings account came directly from my personal employer's payroll checks. And a recorded phone call from 6 months ago, where Liam explicitly acknowledged on tape that the savings account was my premarital property. Brenda thought she knew how bank transfers worked. Liam thought marriage gave him immunity. They were about to find out just how expensive a mistake they had made. The rain outside was freezing, turning into slush as soon as it hit the dark suburban pavement. I dragged my duffel bag down the creaky wooden steps of the basement apartment and loaded it into the trunk of my 10-year-old Honda Civic. Behind me, the window curtains twitched. I could see the silhouette of Brenda standing there, watching me leave like a vulture guarding a carcass. I didn't drive to a motel. I didn't drive to a friend's couch to cry. I drove straight to an all-night diner 3 miles off the interstate, ordered a large black coffee, and opened my laptop on the Formica table. My cheek still throbbed where Brenda had struck me, a dull red stain blooming against my pale skin in the reflection of the diner window. But the pain in my face was nothing compared to the sharp, razor-thin clarity in my mind. Brenda and Liam believed they had committed the perfect crime. They thought that by logging into my laptop, transferring my $50,000 savings into our joint checking account, and immediately cashier checking the funds over to Ryan, they had cleansed the money. They genuinely believed that once funds touch a joint marital bank account, they automatically become communal property, completely untraceable, and impossible to recover. They were idiots whose entire understanding of financial law came from late-night TV dramas. I pulled out my locked accordion file and opened my laptop. For 3 straight hours, as the diner's neon sign flickered outside, I worked. First, I downloaded every single pay stub from my logistics job dating back 5 years. Every pay stub clearly showed direct deposits routed exclusively into high-yield savings account. 89.2. My maiden account. Not a single dollar of Liam's income had ever touched that account. Second, I pulled up my grandmother's probate records from 3 years ago. A clean, notarized $15,000 wire transfer from her estate, straight into my maiden account. Under Illinois law, inheritance remains non-marital property, unless it is intentionally commingled by the recipient. And third, I extracted the digital audio log from my cloud storage. 6 months ago, when Liam had casually asked if we could use my grandmother's house money to buy a new truck for him, I had recorded the phone conversation. On the tape, his voice was clear as day. I know it's your separate money from your grandma and your extra shifts, Jess, but we're a team. That single sentence was a dagger through their defense. It proved knowledge, intent, and non-commingled status. By 3 a.m., I wasn't just sitting in a diner with a spreadsheet. I had compiled a 60-page forensic digital binder, documenting unauthorized bank access, grand larceny, wire fraud, and premarital property conversion. At 8 a.m. sharp, as the sun broke through the cold Chicago fog, I pulled into the parking lot of Vance & Associates Family Law. I didn't hire a standard divorce attorney. I hired Sarah Vance, a fierce, ruthless, forensic divorce lawyer known throughout the county for shredding dishonest spouses who tried to hide or steal assets during separation. Sarah sat behind her heavy mahogany desk, sipping green tea as she flipped through the organized binder I laid before her. She reviewed the bank timestamps, the audio transcript, and the photos I had taken of my bruised cheek in the diner bathroom. A slow, terrifying smile spread across Sarah's face. "Jessica," Sarah said, setting her glasses down on the desk. "Your husband and his mother didn't just commit civil conversion of non-marital property. By using your saved login credentials without authorization to transfer money out of a sole account, they committed federal unauthorized computer access and bank fraud." "Can I get the money back?" I asked, my voice steady. "Get it back?" Sarah let out a short, icy laugh. "My dear, by the time I file the emergency ex parte motion for asset freeze and conversion restitution, Your husband is going to be begging you to let him surrender his car, just to stay out of a orange jumpsuit. And as for his brother's new BMW? Sarah leaned forward, tapping her silver pen on my bank statements. We are filing a fraudulent transfer injunction against the dealership and the credit union today. That car is getting repossessed before the weekend. By Friday afternoon, less than 36 hours after I was slapped and evicted. Sarah Vance's emergency court motions hit the local circuit judge like a sledgehammer. The judge didn't just sign the temporary restraining order. Given the clear paper trail of unauthorized access and grand larceny, she issued an emergency ex parte order for asset freeze and restitution, along with an order of immediate repossession for the vehicles purchased using converted funds. At 4 p.m., Ryan was at the upscale Lakefront Country Club 3 towns over, hosting a lavish engagement party for Chloe's wealthy family. He was wearing a tailored suit, standing near the valet area, boasting to Chloe's father about his successful investments, while pointing proudly to the brand-new, metallic blue BMW 5 Series, parked right in the VIP spot under the awning. That was when 2 flatbed tow trucks, accompanied by 2 marked Sheriff's Department cruisers, pulled up to the front circle of the country club. Deputies walked straight into the country club lobby, loudly asking for Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller? The deputy's voice echoed off the marble walls, attracting the attention of every wealthy guest in the room. We have a court-ordered writ of execution and repossession for the 2024 BMW parked outside. The vehicle was purchased using stolen, converted funds under active criminal investigation. Ryan's face turned from smug satisfaction to a ghostly, sickly white. What? No, that's my car. I bought it cash. You bought it with your sister-in-law's stolen house money, Deputy Miller. No relation, luckily, replied coldly. And right now, the bank has placed a full freeze on all accounts linked to the transaction. Hand over the keys, or you'll be placed under arrest for obstruction. Chloe's father stood right beside Ryan, his arms crossed, watching the entire scene unfold with absolute disgust. Ryan, what is this man talking about? Whose money did you use? Ryan stammered, sweating through his shirt, looking frantically around the crowded room for help. But there was none. Right in front of his fiancée, her wealthy parents, and 80 guests, The deputy snatched the keys from Ryan's trembling hand, walked outside, and hauled the glittering blue BMW onto the back of the flatbed truck. Before the truck even pulled out of the driveway, Chloe took off her engagement ring, threw it directly at Ryan's face, and walked out with her father. At 6 p.m., I was sitting inside Sarah Vance's office, sipping warm tea, when my phone started exploding with calls. 35 missed calls from Liam. 42 missed calls from Brenda. I hit speakerphone on the 36th call from Liam. Jessica! What the hell did you do? Liam screamed into the phone, his voice cracked with hyperventilating panic. My bank accounts are locked. The credit card is declined. Brenda's checking account was frozen by the county sheriff. Ryan lost the car, and Chloe's dad just canceled the wedding. Good evening, Liam, I said calmly, looking at Sarah, who was taking notes with a small smile. You sound stressed. Unfreeze the money, Jessica. Brenda's voice shrieked in the background, hysterical and shrill. Yo ringed my son life. He getting sued by the Cattlers. We'll go to jail for this. You devil. Brenda, I said, my voice dropping to a low, icy register that cut right through her screaming. You hit me. You logged into my account without permission. Dad, you stole 5 years of my life. You thought I was a weak, quiet girl you could step on. Jess, please. Liam's voice suddenly turned into a pathetic, desperate whine. We're married. We can talk about this. I'll give you the money back, I promise. Just tell your lawyer to drop the fraud charges. It's too late for talking, Liam, I replied smoothly. The court hearing for criminal grand larceny and civil conversion is set for Tuesday morning. If you want to avoid prison time, I suggest you sell your personal truck and Brenda's savings to pay back every single dollar, plus my legal fees before 9 p.m. You can't do this to your husband, Liam sobbed. You ceased being my husband the moment you let your mother put her hands on me, I said. I hung up the phone and blocked both of their numbers. Epilogue. The real's a starter. Home 3 months later, the dust finally settled. Under the threat of a felony indictment, Brenda had to mortgage her own home to repay every cent of the $50,000 to my account, plus $12 had 00 in Sarah's legal fees. Liam's prized pickup truck was sold at auction to cover the court costs. Ryan moved back into his mother's basement, unemployed, single, and facing a damaged credit score that would follow him for a decade. Their family spent the next year paying off debts and arguing among themselves over who ruined whose life. As for me, last Tuesday, under a bright sunny Chicago sky, I signed the closing papers on a charming, two-story starter home on the north side of town. It has a spacious kitchen with white quartz countertops, a small backyard with an apple tree, and a quiet, sunlit home office. I sat on the wooden back porch with a hot cup of coffee. Opening my laptop, I looked at my spreadsheet. The numbers were clean. The house was mine. And for the first time in 5 years, the air smelled entirely of freedom. The end.